You ever wake up on a Saturday morning thinking it's going to be peaceful, just you and your coffee and the sound of the breeze in the trees, and then you find yourself watching a suburban HOA president set her own pergola on fire? Yeah, that happened. I'm standing there in my own backyard in Birch Ridge, still wearing pajama pants, holding a hose in one hand, mug in the other, and watching tiki torches march into the woods like drunk soldiers on a last hurrah. Up on the hill, there's Patrice Delaney, queen of the Homeowners Association and self-appointed guardian of sightlines, waving a citronella torch over her head and declaring, in this royal voice, "Commence the view restoration." The woods answer back with a whomp, so loud it rattles my coffee. A squirrel sprints by, half smoking, tail looking like it's been through a bad divorce, and, you know what? I can't even blame the poor thing. Not 2 minutes later, it's Trish's turn to run, because her big, beautiful pergolash just bragged about it last month's HOA meetingies, now a bonfire shooting flames like it's trying out for the cover of a metal album. I should probably back up a sec. I'm Marcus Hale, quiet type, software guy, owner of a rescued beagle named Biscuit, proud builder of Cedar Deck, and absolute connoisseur of Saturday afternoon naps. I moved to Birch Ridge for one reason: the trees. Old, wise oaks, the kind that throws shade like a long apology for Texas sunshine, and enough green around me that sometimes I forget I live in a subdivision, not some fairy tale forest. Trish introduced herself on my first day, walked straight up and measured my hedge with a tape measure, didn't even say hello, just announced that vertical greenery was a hazard to the community's vistas. And I mean, she said vistas like we're all sipping wine on the coast of Italy and not 10 feet from a Walmart. From that day on, I learned Trish collect violation notices like some people collect souvenir shot glasses. I've gotten cited for non-harmonious wine patterns. Translation: my wind chimes didn't fit her mood. Excessive leaf attitude, whatever that means. Fence color moody. I guess my walnut stain was too dark for her taste. Not enough honey oak. I just wave and pay the $50 fines that cost less than my mental health, and appeal the ones that threaten what little sanity I've got left. My hobby is minding my own business. Trish's hobby is minding everybody else with a clipboard, a highlighter, and the sort of passion most people reserve for Olympic sports or tracking down fugitives. Her latest crusade? The Improved Views Initiative. Pastel flyers plastered everywhere, with clip art eagles soaring over treeless hills. The eagles looked absolutely thrilled about their new bald landscape, let me tell you. She holds this mandatory clubhouse meeting picture, folding chairs, stale coffee, and the world's saddest muffins, and unveils a 17-slide PowerPoint. I wish I was kidding. With dramatic pauses, she announces that our neighborhood suffers from canopy bloat, and only selective clearing will reconnect us with the sunsets. She's got a laser pointer circling trees and photos, like they've personally offended her. This oak blocks the western exposure. This maple creates shadow inequality. This walnut is aesthetically aggressive. Then she pins a volunteer sign-up sheet to the bulletin board. 3 days later, not a single soul has signed up. That sheet hung there like a sad proposal nobody wanted. So what does Trish do? She finds 6 households, including mine, for visual obstruction by native habitat. I get this notice on official HOA letterhead, $50, because a tree that predates the subdivision is blocking her view of a sunset she could see just fine from her kitchen. Rumors start swirling by the mailboxes. Trish has hired landscape consultants. Turns out, it's 3 high schoolers with weed whackers and a total disregard for safety. And she's bought a bulk jug of accelerant from the farm store, swearing it's for mosquitoes, even though mosquito season is 4 months out. She convinces Gerald, our HOA treasurer man, so nervous he blinks if you say his name too loud that the budget covers controlled ambience fires. Gerald agrees because, honestly, disagreeing with Trish feels like breaking some sort of ancient rule. One afternoon, I catch her behind my fence, tying pink ribbons to perfectly innocent saplings, marking them for aesthetic correction. I tell her, politely but firmly, that those trees are on my land. She just shrugs, says property lines are a social construct when it comes to beautification, and snaps a photo of my deck furniture, mumbling about non-compliant cushion colors. Fast forward to a Sunday morning, wind howling, fire danger warnings blinking on every app, and Trish has assembled her militia. The three teens, who look like they wish they were anywhere else. Douglas, the HOA safety chair, who wears a bike helmet to get the mail. And Rick, who thinks his leaf blower is a fire break, only showed up because Trish promised him a fine discount. Trish lights a test patch near the hill. Small controlled burn, she announces. Well, the test turns into a demonstration, and the demonstration turns into a wildfire, headed straight for Trish's Tuscan-inspired backyard and its decorative mulch. When her pergola ignites like it's been doused in lighter fluid, she loses it, calls 911, and screams about arson by homeowner, aggressive watering, possible eco-terrorist. That's me, apparently, watering my favorite maple, flip-flops and all, looking about as dangerous as a baked potato. Biscuit just sits beside me, wagging his tail, while the whole neighborhood watches chaos unfold. The fire trucks roll in on, then two, then three. Sirens, lights, the works. I point out the tiki torches, the citronella jugs, and the HOA memo titled View Enhancement Burn duct taped to a stake like a lunatic's vision board. The fire captain, a woman who looks like she's seen it all, reads the memo, blinks twice, and radios the fire marshal. The marshal shows up, looking like he aged a decade on the drive, and calls state forestry. In a blink, Trish's ambience is now a full-blown multi-agency incident, complete with acronyms and official reports. When the marshal asks for permits, Trish whips out a laminated authorization to improve aesthetics, signed, dated, and notarized by herself, with a stamp that might as well say, "I made this in my basement." The marshal just squints at it and starts listing off violations like toppings on a disaster pizza. Unlawful open burning, red flag conditions, negligent ignition near structure, reckless endangerment. And he just keeps going. Then the insurance guy shows up, soot, clipboard, eyes like a shark, and starts going through receipts. Tiki torches, 5 gallons of citronella. Fire starter cubes, asks in that ice-cold voice, "Who approved this?" Trish points at the board. The board, all bunched up by the mailboxes, suddenly find their shoes fascinating. Gerald mutters he was on vacation. And then here's the twist, Pauline, the neighbor everyone thought just rode her bike and minded her own business, rolls up with her phone held high, filming everything. She's got a video Trish rehearsing her HOA speech in the clubhouse mirror, practicing lines like, "Once the trees are gone, your Zillow will soar. Sunset equity for all." The marshal takes her phone, scribbles notes, and turns to me with this look, saying, "Mr. Hale, thank you for your garden hose and for not being insane." That's a direct quote. Biscuit wags his tail like he knows he's the real hero. The fire crews stop the blaze before it gets to the woods, but not before it hops onto Trish's roof, turning her dream home into a nightmare. We all stand there, watching firefighters cut through her shingles, smoke billowing out. Trish tries to hand the captain her citation book, insisting the trucks are violating guest parking. The captain just ignores her. Now the insurance guy is joined by a state environmental officer with a folder thick enough to stun an ox. He tells Trish right in front of everyone that not only is her insurance claim denied, but her own emails prove she knew it was a fire risk. Accelerants to overcome damp wood ignition during red flag, warning awareness of wind patterns. She's documented her own disaster with timestamps. The environmental guy adds fines for destroying habitat birds, salamanders, the whole eco-catalog. The fire marshal serves her summons right there, clipboard and carbon paper, embers drifting in the air like confetti. Someone starts a slow clap. It becomes a full-on applause as the board votes, on the spot, to suspend Trish. Gerald's hand goes up so fast, it's like he's been dreaming about this moment. Douglas nods, so hard his helmet shifts over his eyes. The fines stack up: 25 grand for habitat destruction, another 15 for burning under red flag conditions, another 10 for no permits, another 5 for reckless endangerment. The insurance company? Flat denial. Her house. Blue tarp for a roof, $140,000 in repairs, and that's not counting the pergola, landscaping, or the melted furniture. The county removes her from any HOA leadership for good her name flagged in public records, so she can't sneak into another neighborhood. The HOA strips her title, clipboard, and, I kid you not, her laminating privileges in an emergency vote right there in the parking lot, smoke still hanging over everything. And there she stands, Trish Delaney, queen of the cul-de-sac, now just a homeowner surrounded by a circle of officials and a mountain of paperwork. She tries to talk, but nothing comes out, just a squeak, like a balloon losing air. Hands shaking, citations rattling like dry leaves, the famous laser pointer rolling into a puddle of fire hose foam. For the first time since I moved here, Trish has nothing to say. No threats, no standards to enforce, just the sound of her consequences settling in. So let me ask you, if your HOA president tried to burn down your trees for aesthetic correction, what would you do? Would you fight back or just sit there with your coffee and your dog, waiting for karma to land with sirens? Drop your thoughts below, tell me where you're watching from, share your own HOA war stories, or just sound off on what you think justice looks like. And hey, if you enjoyed that ride, go ahead and hit subscribe. Got 100 more tales where this one came from. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss what happens in Birch Ridge next.